I'll just start off and lead you and just talk to me as this stupid little thing isn't even here, okay?
Okay, we'll ignore it.
But, oh my God, your songs are sensual.
I didn't think you were going to start like that.
That's where I have to start.
Baby, release me from this cage. Gather me up and hold me, sway. Whisper myself into your ear. 'Cause I know the things you long to hear. The hum and the shiver, hum and the shiver, yeah. The hum and the shiver, hum and the shiver, yeah.
I guess maybe that isn't like a super focus of everybody's life. It sort of seems like it should be. It certainly has been of mine. I mean, I'm interested in the sensual, I suppose. So, but it registers with me that everyone doesn't operate that way. You know, that's sort of news to me. It's kind of like just one of those things you learn as you know more people and know more about them.
Your self-titled album was in 1998, right? Okay, so what I want to do is go back in time to the young Jennifer Goree, who is gracious enough to appear on this show. Tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in 6 Mile, South Carolina, on a mountain, so surrounded by nature. No neighbors, no neighborhood, just a lot of trees and woods.
Well, tell me a little bit about your childhood and how you discovered this love of music that you have.
Well, I think when gosh, I mean, I'm sure you had a similar sort of childhood too. You know, when you grow up in the country, and certainly with me, when I literally had no neighbors,
Right.
I didn't have a sibling that was close in age. I really did spend a whole lot of time by myself in the woods, playing with acorns and moss and, trees and making up stories and listening to the sounds of the wilderness around you. And music was always... I don't remember a time that I didn't sing. My mom is a singer as well, and I remember one of my earliest memories, I was not even in kindergarten, so very, very young. I remember my mom standing me up on a counter in an old lodge up in the mountains at some yoga camp that she was going to, and she put me up on the counter, and I sang You Are My Sunshine, and I sang the melody and she sang the harmony. And I was a tiny little kid, and I sang for this whole group of people, and in harmony with another person, which is kind of tricky to do. So singing was just always natural to me and something I just did all the time.
You got my number, baby. Hope you don't call, 'cause one more night like last night, baby, and I surely will fall. You got me running, you got me hiding, you got me swimming for shore.
Music around the house. Your mother likes music, and you mentioned being out in the woods, the sounds of nature sort of seeing and feeling, you know, that's part of your experience, the senses that were engaged with nature. Describe to me like a typical summer day for little Jennifer Goree.
Oh, well, a typical summer day. Well, in 6 Mile, it would probably be, you know, walking around in the woods, and I had a horse that was sort of a free range horse, sort of hung out in our yard, and I would ride her around some, and you know, getting into some sort of water. You know, what the other thing that I think is a huge theme in my life is water, and it's not at 6 Mile, but I spent a whole lot of time, and still do spend a lot of time, at the Chattooga River. And so I have a lot of memories of the Chattooga being little, and swimming in the whitewater, which is sort of like, I mean, this is all what's so sensual. This is all sensual
right.
stuff,
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know? So it's like swimming in bubbly water that's like jumping into champagne. You know, it's just, how can you not totally get into that? It's amazing. It's an amazing sensual experience. And that's the kind of stuff that I did as a kid.
Right. Well, you're describing this world, and you mentioned earlier that you would sort of make up stories while you were out gallivanting around in the forest or in the river. When did the written word, or putting these ideas down on pieces of paper, when did you discover you could do that?
Not super early, I wouldn't say. The first song I ever wrote was on the piano, which is, I don't really play the piano, and it was an instrumental piece, which is really weird considering what I've kind of ended up doing. But I guess the first song I wrote was probably not till I was 17. And it started out very much as simply being a vehicle for me to sing songs.
Right.
I mean, I certainly had that stuff I wanted to say, but I never really thought of myself as a poet or anything as a young person. I thought of myself more as a performer. And, you know, there was my whole young teenage kind of years and into early college was really spent focused on theater, which is a whole different thing. But so, you know, the idea of performing has always been something that I've really been interested in, and the human experience. And so theater is all about the human experience.
Right. Okay, so you said you were 17 when you started writing your own songs.
I wanted to play out, you know, I wanted to perform, and I think you want to be able to express yourself as opposed to just playing covers. And you know, I was 17 and I'd been through kind of a pretty rough time, and, you know, difficult times lead to a lot of songwriting. So I think there was kind of that creative spark at that stage.
Do you remember that first song?
Yeah, I do, vaguely. I couldn't play it. It was, you know, overly complicated guitar part, and probably, you know, trying too hard to be poetic lyrics, but it was also focused on, or it's centered around, again, kind of the natural. It was set in the natural environment, you know. Most of my songs are about relationships and people, but there's, you know, the backdrop is the environment.
All in the shade of evening, sun going down, he would come to gather around, and he said, "Come I will lay down, lay down. I will lay down.
I do wonder when you started playing guitar, because
It was about that same time, late 16, early 17. I picked up my mother had a guitar from Sears, classical guitar, and she knew about
the nylon string.
nylon string. She knew these sort of 3 weird chords that I think she'd made up. And she taught me these 3 weird chords. And, if you know 3 chords, you can go a long way. So I kind of got started down that road. And I had a bunch of friends that I hung out with at that time that were way better guitar players. And I guess I probably was a better singer. So, I would sing and I think the best way to learn how to play the guitar is to play with people who are good and just hang on,
Right.
catch up and make sure you can keep up with them. So it came very naturally to me, at least at first, and then I think you kind of hit a plateau, but I was pretty quickly able to play the guitar well enough to accompany myself to sing out in public.
Did you have a core group? You mentioned some friends you played with. Was there a core group of friends who were interested in the same thing when you were in high school? That sort of...
Yeah. I mean, I had I kind of had 2 different groups that I was around. I had my theater friends. I went to the Fine Arts Center in Greenville and the Governor's School, and that was for theater. And theater people are totally different than musician band people. Very, very different. And so I did my theater stuff with those folks, and then I had a group of friends that I played music with. Many of Richard Tillinghast was one, who's still a performing musician out in the West Coast now, and he and I had a duo early on. Again, sort of that focus on harmony, very kind of folk-oriented stuff that we were doing early on. And I played or sang some with Tony early on as well. Glenn Cannon, maybe a little later than that. But I went through a pretty significant blues period too, where I was learning to play the blues from some really good blues players. That was interesting as a young kid. Who I am, and I've not ever been very good at pretending to be something I'm not, and I think that also sort of lends itself into the perhaps maybe the way I've never quite felt like I was a member of any kind of group.
Right.
Right. I was never quite fit into any of the groups that I was sort of on the periphery of, because I don't know, just have always been just me.
Well, I first heard of you, I think, a mutual friend, Will McHale. There was this sort of mysterious woman up on the river who would sing songs in the evening. I'm like, who are you talking about? It's like, you need to hear her play. I was like, who is she? She's Jennifer something. And so, so you were part of the musical scene here, but you were also sort of distant from it in that people knew that you were playing and maybe seen you play some, but the ones that you did not perform with or had not been to whatever bar or club, you were sort of a mysterious person who was known as a songwriter and a performer, but we didn't really know you. And is that part of the not really fitting in anywhere? Or
Yeah, I think it's totally that, because I don't, I fit in the river, literally in the river I fit in, but I'm not a river person either, so, and I know you and who your friends are, and I like other kinds of groups. I've not ever really felt like I was a part of your group, or these different kind of tight knit groups of friends. I have my individual people, but I've not ever really been part of a scene. And there was
Right.
a scene in Clemson. There was a music scene in Clemson, and I was absolutely on the periphery of it. And I always sort of felt part of that might have something to do with, obviously just the type of music I played, or the fact that I was a woman. You can't. That seemed to be part of it. There's definitely most all of the bands that I've been involved with, I'm, the only woman or one of two. It's pretty. So that's part of it too,
Right.
is being a woman. But yeah, I was on the periphery for sure of the Clemson music scene.
Well, I'm wondering, especially in our 20s and stuff, it was a male-dominated scene, and I think, especially as I get older, the female perspective is so important. And you, in your lyrics and in your earliest albums, you have a point of view and a lyrical sensibility that I think connects to people a lot older than you were. And there was some wisdom there, and some observation or insight, may be a good word, especially in the relationship.
I've been interested when I've heard other women writers, songwriters, I guess more songwriters than authors, but songwriters talk about sort of the danger of being a, singer-songwriter woman singing about her feelings. And, there's, it's kind of runs the risk of the, that awful idea of a chick flick or something, which, the whole idea of how condescending we are as a society to things that somehow are feminine, is hopefully something we'll get over at some stage. But, the singer-songwriter girl who sings about her feelings is something that people make fun of, not that something people that aspire to like chick flicks. And so that's sort of, I have not wanted to do that, but I'm also, I think that, and that's a really interesting thing too. I've thought sometimes I'll hear a song that I will really love or whatever by a man, and it will be this really insightful, emotionally vulnerable song, and everybody will just drop dead about how fantastic this song is. And I think, if a woman sang that song, they would just roll their eyes, but because a man is singing it and a man is being vulnerable, it's this amazing sort of thing. But, if a woman does it, it's, there she goes again.
Well, one thing as I'm aging, which I'm doing, is
The alternative is worse.
the alternative. Yeah, I don't want to stop aging. But it seems we do not, especially as a male-dominated society, do not understand the incredible gift, the incredible responsibility it is when a woman gives you her heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you deal with that a lot. It's like in your lyrics, you will absolutely lay yourself bare to a real or imaginary or whatever lover, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm yours,
Mm-hmm.
take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an immense responsibility that I think the masculine does not understand a lot of times. And if we do, it is in an egotistical, of course, she gave herself to me without realizing the gift. And that's one thing I noticed about your lyrics. There's a lot of vulnerability and a lot of, okay, I'm doing this, take care of it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess that's another thing maybe I've figured out as I've gotten older. I've always sort of thought of myself as sort of this shy, kind of quiet, not confident about talking. Here we are talking person. But when I've just through living and experiencing the world, I guess I have realized that I'm also a pretty serious risk taker.
Right.
That is sort of a surprise to realize that that's. I would never have described myself as that.
Right.
But I think I am.
It was interesting to revisit your songs and see how direct you are and how you were not holding back. It was not that introverted person. You were like, this is what I want. Can you handle this? There's a lot of that. And there's some pretty brash things. It's like, even like in the lyric, it's like, yeah, I want to wake you in the morning. I love her without warning. It was that drive all night, surprise you. It's like, oh my goodness. There's some very direct things that someone just meeting you would not imagine. Spent, I guess, your 20s and part of your 30s really really producing and playing out and just pursuing this music, and then you had this period where it's like, okay, it's family time. I'm going to put as much energy into these children, who are wonderful, by the way, and I'm going to do my best in this area. And now I'm going to use a horrible word, please forgive me, middle ages here. And I think last year I was at the first concert where you played with a band called Molecular Rodeo, which is you and Tony and a group of talented musicians, and you play some of your songs, Tony plays some of his, and then are you guys writing together?
Yes. Yeah, we've written a couple of great songs, I think, together.
So how did this come about, and is this itch appearing again where you need to start writing more or playing out more?
Well, I think it just I guess what happened really was, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. I just, I'd been kind of dipping my toe in getting back into the music and playing some shows, and writing a song, here and there. And I just really wanted. I just had that desire. The desire was back. I really wanted to get something going again, and I think I just emailed. I think I emailed Tony and Evan Daner, two of my musical buddies, and said, I need to play some. And Tony said, well, I've got these 2 gigs coming up. Why don't you just play these with me, and we'll just do them as a duet. And which we did, and we had a super time doing it, and it was just very natural that we got some other people involved, and before you know it, and Tony had the name. He said, let's do this as a duet. Let's don't just, because we'd played together before as sort of a songwriter in the round kind of thing with Barmy Darlings, and that was
with
Tony
Neil
and
Brooks.
Neil Brooks,
Right.
and which was wonderful, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But it was very much, each of us did our songs, and we, backed each other up, kind of in an accompanying kind of fashion. But it wasn't a, we didn't write songs together, for example. And this, Tony wanted to have, he had this name, Thermonuclear Rodeo, and so we just kind of went with it, and then started writing songs together. So, which I think is an interesting mix. I think the thing that's interesting about, and you've written about this and talked about it very, very eloquently, but I think, I bring a very feminine perspective to things, and I think the way that Tony and I are, the mix between us and the songs that we write and the sound and the quality of what we do is an interesting mixture. So, and I love to sing harmony, so it really works.
Well, I love it, and I think something magical happens when you guys perform together. And I think you guys played in Greenville a few days ago, and someone had posted online a video.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed was watching, I don't even think anyone was singing at this point. It was a musical interlude, and I noticed you seemed to be lost in the music. You were swaying with it, just playing it. It seemed cathartic. It seemed healing. It seemed like you were home. If that makes any sense. Just because I was noticing, I was like, look at her. She's just there. She's in the moment. She's in the music. And what I want to get at through that is, and we've mentioned it but never really discussed it, is that moment of creativity when you've given birth to a song. Is what sort of feelings do you have in that sort of afterglow of a new song?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it's so exhilarating, writing something and then, capturing it. And I mean, we have all these great, super easy ways to do this where you're capturing the creation. It's not like at the first performance, you're capturing the creation of a song.
Right.
And that's just so exciting. And then I think that's another thing that has happened as I've gotten older, is losing myself in the performance. Again, being an introvert. Being an introvert on stage is a funny thing. It works for some reason because you have a sense of protection. I don't have to make small talk.
Right.
As you, I'm sure, have noticed, I just essentially do not talk when I'm singing. I don't talk about the song or introduce it, or I don't say anything, and so I'm not uncomfortable. I can just sing my songs, and that's that. But I think I have gotten just more. mean, confidence perhaps, but I'm not even really sure it's confidence. I think it's just more accepting of the fact that I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm you know, maybe it's because you appreciate things a little bit more. You know, I'm not worrying about anything when I'm up there. I'm just into it. And appreciating the fact that I'm getting to do this thing that's so incredibly fun.
Are there a new group of songs that you're gonna share with us anytime soon? Is there how's the writing?
Well, I've written 2 new songs that are where we haven't kind of put out in the set list yet, and I got a whole bunch of other ones that are percolating. So, and I feel really good about them. And I think the songs, this last whole batch of songs, I really like the lyrics. I'm really happy with them, and I can tell that I'm actually singing them differently. You know, I've always been, again, kind of, you know, a little bit almost apologetic or something, you know, and I'm not feeling apologetic about any of these lyrics.
Does that come with age and more confidence, or?
Perhaps, or it's just, I don't, either that or maybe they were just better. I don't know.
well, I'm extremely curious to see what's going to happen next, and to see the new group of song that what you're going to give birth to, because you've always had insight, and you've had understanding of your emotional and even spiritual health, as far as what you need and what you give to life. And I'm excited about this new group to see what grown-ass woman Jennifer is going to produce. And
yeah, me too. It will be interesting.
well, I've talked a bit about your old stuff. Is there anywhere people can go to hear some of these songs, or to purchase any of these albums?
Let's see. You can find them on SoundCloud. I think that, and you can look us up through the Facebook page for Thermonuclear Rodeo, and message me, and you can buy things directly from me. Some of my first 2 records were distributed by Ghost Meat Records out of Athens, and I think they still have some copies too, or Amazon. You can find them on Amazon sometimes too.
Well, is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to discuss?
I don't know. I think we've had a pretty good conversation.
I've enjoyed it. I've
Yeah, me
enjoyed
too.
sitting down with you out here in nature.
Yeah.
I don't know how many bug sounds we picked up, but
Hopefully a bug or 2.
it was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for talking with me.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So you say you're leaving, baby. Why don't you go on and go? Sorry, don't mean